Two self-taught bicycle mechanics dared to solve the oldest human riddle: how to fly. Beat. Their audacity changed the world forever. Humble beginnings and ferocious curiosity. Wilbur and Orville Wright grew up in a modest, book-filled house in Dayton, Ohio, under the watchful eye of their father, Bishop Milton Wright, and the quiet resilience of their mother, Susan. Beat. They had no college degrees, no government grants, and no reason, on paper, to imagine themselves as the architects of powered flight. Yet from childhood, they possessed an almost gravitational pull toward tinkering, experimentation, and curiosity. The book paints vivid scenes of the brothers taking apart toys, hoarding mechanical parts, and devouring every newspaper clipping on aeronautics. Beat. David McCullough emphasizes how their bicycle shop became both a livelihood and a laboratory. The shop, smelling of oil, rubber, and fresh-cut steel tubing, granted the brothers an everyday apprenticeship in balance, propulsion, and materials, all essential to aircraft design. Beat. When they weren't adjusting spoke tension for customers, they were discussing the gliding experiments of Otto Lilienthal, or puzzling over how birds bank in high winds. Beat. Their insight that the pilot, like a cyclist, must maintain control rather than trust passive stability was radical. It reframed flight as an act of dynamic balance instead of mere buoyancy. Orville would later recall evenings when Wilbur sprawled over the living room carpet sketching wing shapes while he read aloud scientific journals their father fetched from the library. Beat. McCullough interweaves family letters, revealing parental support that felt both stern and liberating. Bishop Wright wrote from his preaching circuits whenever the brothers felt discouraged, reminding them that true success rests on character, not acclaim. Beat. Such grounding prepared them for the isolation and eventual skepticism they would endure. Beat. By 1899, Wilbur sent a polite, meticulously phrased letter to the Smithsonian requesting every publication it had on human flight. That letter, which the author reproduces nearly in full, marks the decisive moment when intrigue hardened into intent. Beat. Within months, kite tests commenced in empty Ohio fields. These experiments, humble and handmade, signaled that the age-old dream of wings was no longer the domain of poets alone. Two determined Midwesterners had entered the race. Beat. The section closes with the brothers shipping their first glider to the remote dunes of Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, a place chosen for steady winds, forgiving sand, and blessed anonymity. Their departure from Dayton is described not as an escape, but as a pilgrimage into the vast classroom of nature, where failure would be frequent, data honest, and possibility limitless. Kitty Hawk, trial, error, and the first powered flight, Kitty Hawk, greeted the brothers with fierce coastal gales, swarms of mosquitoes, and a community of skeptical fishermen who nonetheless lent helping hands. Beat. McCullough's narrative immerses us in the fabric tents flapping at night, the endless slog of carrying 100-pound wings up sandy hills, and the brothers' nightly debriefs, scribbling measurements by lantern light. Beat. Crucially, the Wrights refused to romanticize flight. They measured it. They built a homemade wind tunnel out of scrap wood and stovepipe, gathering thousands of data points on lift and drag, more than all previous aviators combined. Emphasis, precision, became their creed. Beat. Setback followed spectacle. The 1900 and 1901 gliders yawed unpredictably. Wilbur called the latter season one of disappointments. Beat. Yet each crash, McCullough shows, was recorded with the detachment of scientists, not the despair of dreamers. Even their injuries, broken ribs, bruised pride, served as lines in a ledger charting progress. Beat. Then came 17th of December 1903. The Wright Flyer, a spruce and muslin craft powered by a 12-horsepower engine of their own design, lay on its rail launch. Orville flipped a coin and won the right to pilot. With Bishop Wright's tense blessing conveyed via telegram, the brothers faced a 27-mile-per-hour wind, nature itself offering part of the airspeed required. Beat. The engine sputtered, the restraining wire fell, and the flyer lurched forward. McCullough slows the moment until we nearly hold our breath. 12 seconds, 120 feet, and history changed direction. Beat. Though modest in length, that hop proved 3 revolutionary points: powered takeoff, sustained lift, and controlled landing. Beat. Witness John Daniels accidentally snapped the famous photo as the flyer rose. He later admitted he was so stunned, he almost forgot to squeeze the bulb. The book's rich detail captures the brothers' muted celebration. No champagne, just handshakes and tool cleanup before the cold Atlantic squall returned. Beat. McCullough frames the achievement within context. While others chased flamboyant theories, the Wrights iterated quietly, trusting mathematics and field notes. Their method redefined innovation as a disciplined marriage of imagination and empiricism. Beat. As they packed to leave Kitty Hawk, Wilbur mused that the real work, longer flights, practical machines, had only begun. The dunes had proven possibility. Now the world awaited proof of utility. Battling skepticism, patents, and public spectacle. If Kitty Hawk birthed flight, Dayton nurtured its adolescence. Beat. Back home, the brothers refined wing-warping mechanisms, strengthened propeller shafts, and eventually coaxed the Flyer 3 to stay aloft for 24 miles in 1905. Yet almost no one outside Ohio believed them. The U.S. Army rejected their letters. Newspapers filed the claims under tall tales. Beat. The brothers' response was not anger, but strategy. They secured patents, shielding their control system from imitators who, in an irony of history, had previously dismissed them as cranks. Emphasis, tenacity, guided every legal brief. Beat. McCullough dramatizes a cat-and-mouse transatlantic courtship. French aeronautical circles, buzzing with public demonstrations by Santos Dumont and the Voisin brothers, scoffed at news of unknown Americans. Wilbur sailed to France in 1907, storing bicycle tools in his trunk because he trusted no mechanic but himself. Beat. At Le Mans racetrack, 8th August 1908, he silenced all doubt. In under 2 minutes, he banked gracefully above the crowd, executing figures 8 that European machines could not match. Spectators stood stunned, hats raised skyward, then erupted in applause. French newspapers labeled him La Conquête de l'air, the conqueror of the air. Beat. Meanwhile, Orville performed contract trials for the U.S. Army at Fort Myer, Virginia. A harrowing accident killed Passenger Lieutenant Thomas Selfridge and severely injured Orville. McCullough's account respects the tragedy's gravity: broken bones, months of recovery, Wilbur's protective letters to family, and Bishop Wright's bedside promise that Orv would fly again. Beat. They did fly again, fulfilling military contracts and selling demonstration rights, all while waging patent wars to defend their control technology. Lawsuits drained time and goodwill, yet the brothers persisted, not for greed, but to maintain the integrity of their discovery. Beat. The section closes with their triumphant flights around the Statue of Liberty and up the Hudson River in 1909, drawing millions of spectators. Cameras flashed, bands played. But McCullough notes the brothers' unaltered humility. They would rather discuss stress tolerances than bask in celebrity. Beat. Their public success affirmed that methodical innovation, once proved, can capture imaginations as readily as fireworks. Legacy of innovation and the human spirit. David McCullough devotes his final chapters to the brothers' post-triumph years and the broader imprint of their work. He details the creation of the Wright Company, Wilbur's exhausting tour of courtrooms and boardrooms, and Orville's eventual role as elder statesman of aviation. Beat. Wilbur's untimely death from typhoid in 1912 reads as an almost Shakespearean twist. The visionary cut down not by riskier engines, but a commonplace germ. McCullough renders the moment with spare elegance, capturing Orville's devastation and the family's stoic faith. Beat. Yet the legacy outlived loss. The brothers' insistence on empirical testing seeded a culture of rigorous engineering that guided NASA missions decades later. Their notebooks, smudged with grease, penciled in margins, became scripture for aspiring aeronauts. Emphasis, ingenuity, remained their most transferable gift. Beat. McCullough widens the lens to explore cultural reverberations, how airmail shrank continents, how aerial reconnaissance reshaped warfare, and how commercial airlines democratized travel. All trace back to two men who once pedaled bicycles through Dayton's streets. Beat. He also attends to character. The Wrights practiced quiet philanthropy, funded scholarships, and avoided the Gilded Age's excesses. Their story, the author insists, is less about singular genius and more about partnership, the irreplaceable chemistry of siblings who balanced each other's tempers, talents, and doubts. Beat. By chronicling conversations, diary entries, and even household receipts, McCullough shows that progress is rarely meteoric. It is incremental, collaborative, and often invisible until, suddenly, it is everywhere. The brothers' life arc testifies that disciplined emphasis, persistence, can turn impossible dreams into everyday realities. Beat. As the narrative closes, Orville, now grey-haired, watches an early jet roar overhead in 1944. He smiles, recognizing in that thunderous streak both an echo of Kitty Hawk's sputtering engine and a promise that the skies he opened would forever invite new explorers. McCullough leaves the reader with a sense of unbroken lineage. From bicycle shop to moonshot, a single, stubborn idea, man can fly, propels us still.